It's Tuesday morning. As the week unfolds, Nigeria's headlines are stirring debate and raising tough questions. From the corridors of power to the campuses across the country, decisions are being made that will shape trust, justice, and the future of education itself. The presidency's pardons have sparked conversations across about accountability and fairness, and who gets forgiven and who gets forgotten. Meanwhile, ASUU's warning strike has started, leaving students, lecturers, and parents caught in a cycle that feels endless and asking whether anyone is truly listening. This is Jasiri, where we go beyond the headlines to ask the questions that matter, hold leaders to their promises, and make sense of the choices shaping our nations today. Let's get into the stories that is driving Tuesday, but first, on the agenda.
First on the agenda, some good news for a change. Nigeria has recorded a medical milestone. For the first time ever, doctors right here in Lagos, Nigeria, have successfully performed a urolift surgery. That's a minimally invasive procedure for men with enlarged prostates, medically known as benign prostatic hyperplasia. Basically, the urolift system uses small implants to lift the prostate tissue away from the urethra, improving urine flow without affecting sexual or bladder functions. The surgery was led by Professor Kingsley Kweme Name, already making waves in urology and robotic surgery. Announcing the feat over the weekend, Professor Kweme described the urolift as, in quotes, a new era in prostate care for Nigerian men, end of quotes. He also confirmed how successful the surgery went, describing that the patient was discharged the very same day with no cuts, no tissue removal, and no post-surgery complications. This is special, not only because it's the first ever of such surgery for our country, but it's also a new milestone in the treatment of prostate enlargement and minimally invasive healthcare in West Africa. Let's take reactions. Just imagine what Nigeria will be if we aren't losing the best of us every day to Japa, and if the system is good. Correction is not the first. If private hospital in Abuja provides such service with optional video streaming for patient and family members to watch the procedure.
Okay. All right, we have this one that says from Tobe, soon he will take this knowledge abroad because the government won't acknowledge him and give him all the support to continue this great work in the medical sector. Noel here says, Professor Kweme is a life changer, breaking barriers and providing much needed innovation in the field of urology. We hope it will bring
Some men, I believe.
Okay, so it will bring something out to men suffering from this condition.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Nigerian doctors. I see this country leading healthcare in the world, or in the whole world, in the nearest future. And this from Bola.
I like this story.
I do.
And I think being able to start the show with something fresh news is always something. And I just want to signify, because we don't talk a lot about prostate cancer so much like that. But it is a very significant public health issue here in Nigeria. And prostate cancer is actually one of the most common and deadliest cancers among men. And unfortunately, you know, men are somehow about their bodies. So going to so if you tell a man and you want to say, go and get your prostate checked.
The first thing
you literally can feel them just
you know, a lot of men, they gain their ego and everything from what they consider their sexuality or their, you know, everything that happens down there. And if anything is going to happen, I've heard a man say, I'd rather die than lose you know, functionality in that area.
Then go and get checked, because unfortunately too many Nigerian men are getting late diagnosis. Just the way we talk about breast cancer coming and Nigerian women getting late diagnosis, we're also seeing late diagnosis for prostate issues in men as well.
When I saw the story, I just imagined Nigeria being in the forefront of groundbreaking health.
We have been
like better than China, better than the European countries that, you know, so many of us visit. Do you know so many people from abroad actually come to Nigeria to perform some surgeries and all that, and it's way cheaper. If only the government would actually, you know, invest in the health sector. Only God knows where Nigeria
Imagine if medical tourism is thriving like it's thriving in
honestly,
Funny
India.
enough, ladies, there's actually starting to become a wave of people coming from places like the UK, the US, and Canada, coming back to Nigeria for search. So my friend, my goddaughter had a carrot stuck in her nose. She's in Canada. They're in Canada.
Had a what?
A carrot stuck in her nose. The earliest appointment they got was 1 year. It's because they knew people that they were able to see her in a week. I was chatting with my friend. I said, "There's a carrot stuck in her nose." They said there was nothing.
Was he rot?
So all of whatever, once it goes, I was so concerned about her sleeping and maybe it coming down. My friend met so many people in the waiting room who have been waiting months for appointments. And first you do appointments. You do a general practitioner appointment before you often get sent to a specialist, which is almost the same thing here. But people are waiting months. People are on waiting lists for a year, sometimes to see a doctor. In Canada, in the UK, and the US healthcare system, there's nothing to write home about. But you're starting to see, I won't say it's a trend, but you're starting to see a trickle of people choosing to come back home, quickly go and do 1 or 2 things, 2-3 weeks, they're in, they're out, and they're done. And that is an opportunity.
It's a great opportunity. All we see, we don't lack human capacity.
No, we don't.
We have excellent doctors. The only thing that is our problem or our biggest challenge is infrastructure. If there's infrastructure, you will see that a lot of doctors will find it easier to work. Just like Tolu was saying, I knew someone who had stroke in the UK. I'm not lying to you. They brought him back home for quick care because when they've done the initial thing, you know how they give them long time, but people don't see the downsides of these things. They just see the positives that we sell to them about living abroad and getting some of the things. If our own NHIS, what they call National Health Insurance health scheme is working properly and people are getting service, why would anybody want to just keep leaving the country? It's just because the country is made so hard for our professionals. That is why some of them are going abroad. Do you know these robotics they're talking about? Do you know how much it takes to import?
Yes, the machines.
Some of these things are things that should be tax-free.
Even the technician. So now when you look at it, you can look at it in how it can become a secondary and third level of employment. You even need technicians. So let's forget, we may not be fabricating, but if we're importing, you need the technicians that will keep these machines running optimally. You need the nurses and doctors to get further training on these kind of things. And at one point I wanted to make, as our producer said, free healthcare doesn't mean accessible, and that's why people are spending months waiting. But one other point I wanted to make is you'll go abroad and guess what? Some of your doctors are Nigerian.
They are.
My sister had a surgery, I think about 2 years ago. Her main doctor, 2 of them were Nigerians. Another was Cameroonian. Like her whole medical team was African. In the US, in DC.
And because we come from a country or a climate of resilience and doggedness, that helps the craft. Because where the Oyibo refuse to go, we will go. We will try and push it. Look at this person now, this Professor Ekweme. I mean, it was such a good story to tell today. It was nice to share that, listen, good things are still happening here. It doesn't mean he must japa. Like I say, not everybody is designed to japa. Some people who have japaed are now japa dying. Dying. They're coming back because they feel they have more to give here than there. So we just need a little more belief in the system. If we can believe a bit more in our doctors, in our medical professionals here, and decide to just, but not just throw the baby away with the bathwater.
And just as someone has actually said, this is not the first, there's somewhere in Abuja, a hospital in Abuja that actually does the same surgery and all that. And there are also pockets of hospitals like that perform surgeries that, like Tolu said, are not accessible, and not everybody will be able to afford it. So.
Of course, look at that, the one we talked about, fibroid, the non-invasive one.
Yes, there's a non-invasive.
You see, it's knowledge. It's maybe this is just the latest technology. I like the fact that the governor was there, to see what was being done. But I want to know what's the contribution
beyond the photo op.
Beyond the photo op. What happens next? Because I want to know was it a government hospital? Is it owned by them? Who imported that equipment? Who trained that doctor? Who paid them?
Even on the importation part, we need to start looking at making sure there are tax breaks.
That's what I was saying.
Tax breaks. There are exemptions, and I know there are some level handful of them, but there has to be more that encourages. We need to make these things public so people know that if I'm bringing this kind of machine into the country, there might be absolutely no import duties or maybe very minimal. And I know these things exist, but it feels like, one, we don't publicize them enough. Or maybe it's because we're not in those sectors, so we don't know about them. But it often feels like when we talk to people who do these things, they still run into government bureaucracies and red tape and laws and taxes and whatever it is in trying to do these things. So let's just...
At least I heard that the president had made dialysis subsidized recently.
In public hospitals.
These are things that...
Free.
I'm just wondering what this agency that Tolu should be handling. What they do about it.
I will tell you for free, in case you guys don't know what that is. It's a national orientation agency. It's Tolu's agency.
It's Tolu's agency. We need information out there. I keep telling the government that if you call me as a consultant, the only thing that I can do for you is to amplify the good that you do. Make it loud enough for those that need it to hear. It's not like after some time you see this thing has been existing and nobody has accessed it. It's just like some of these funds that they give to some agencies. It will stay there, nobody will know it's there until after some time they'll just be doling it out to places where it ought not to go. So if we know that these things are happening, let us know. At least I don't Nigeria like it that press people are always assuming and making assumptions, filling in the blanks. There are some of these things that are not to be hidden. If it is for the good of the people, let the people know. Pure and simple.
You see, I think we have a lot to learn as a country and as a continent. Because there are sterling doctors in Africa. Absolutely. Let's leave Nigeria. There are sterling doctors in Africa. We should normalize going to Tanzania, even if, let your Tanzanian doctor attend to you, or your Gambian doctor, your Senegalese doctor.
The specialties.
It's such a noble profession, and these are for you to be in this profession. You should know, as in they take it holistically. It's like this is sacrosanct around the medical profession.
So I talked about, spreading the information and letting people know. But the truth is, most of these hospitals are not ready for the influx of people that would want to come, for some of, the procedures, because they do not have the capacity. There's a hospital we went to, I don't know, I think myself and Marshall told you about it, where we went and we had a massage, right? And it targeted areas that were tense, areas that, normally you wouldn't even know. If you've been sitting for so long, your back and everything, it targets it, and it's non-invasive. So there are hospitals like that, but they are coded. They really do not want or they're not ready for the influx of the people that would want to, come there. So they just let specific people who can afford it know about it.
I think it's about affordability. It's not even about if that's the only way they can keep people away. It's if you can afford it. So even some of these non-invasive technologies that are available now, it doesn't come cheap.
No, I say because we actually asked and they said, no, we don't want too many people to know about it. That was what they said. Yeah.
Interesting. But I wonder what the reason would be.
Passion, take us.
All right, well, away from that, mercy.
We're dealing with the M's now.
So mercy or mistake. President Bola Tinubu's recent pardons have reopened an old wound in Nigeria's justice system, a reminder of the uneasy balance between compassion and accountability. Now, supporters call it a humanitarian gesture, an act of reconciliation from a president seeking unity. But critics say that it is a dangerous signal that corruption and wrongdoing can always find a way out through the back door of political privilege. So what do these pardons really mean for justice, trust, and also leadership in Nigeria today? Let's talk about it after the break. Stay with us.
Sparked outrage, confusion, and a flurry of political debate. President Bola Tinubu's recent presidential pardons granted to 175 convicted persons, including individuals convicted of drug trafficking, kidnapping, illegal mining, coup plotting, as well as posthumous pardons for historical figures, have stirred a widespread debate. The pardons have raised critical questions about justice, accountability, and the moral tone of governance in Nigeria. While the presidency defends the move as an act of compassion and national reconciliation, Many Nigerians see it as a setback, a signal that power still shields the privileged, even in the face of wrongdoing. What message do these pardons send to the citizens who have lost faith in the justice system? And where should we draw the line between mercy and impunity? Civil rights groups have condemned the president's decision. Let's hear what they had to say in this report from News Central's Aishat Salihu.
Shortly after a Council of State meeting, President Bola Tinubu announced clemency and reprieve for a variety of convicted felons in the exercise of the prerogative of mercy conferred on him by Section 175 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Out of the 175 beneficiaries of the presidential pardon, 41 are illegal minors, 28 drug traffickers, and 22 murderers topped the list. Also included are foreigners, coup plotters, and corrupt politicians.
The challenge is now when we have persons of questionable character who faced their time in the court and were sentenced accordingly, being pardoned. You know, it can really cause a lot of torture to people who were the victims of those people, particularly persons that were killed and their killer were given pardon.
Nigeria also seek legal mutual assistance in order to deal with so many issues, like even issues around access recovery. So what this pardoning has done is to damage that relationship with Nigeria and international communities.
Although it has been described as an act of mercy and national healing, some have condemned it as a reckless act, undermining the rule of law, including gross injustice for smaller offences and offenders, many of those unfairly jailed and awaiting trial.
It begs the question of, is it worthy enough for we to find NDLE officer pursuing after people who do drug trafficking? Is it worthy enough to find police officers risk their life to get evidence, hard fact evidence, and prosecute in courts?
You are going to promote societal evils, because people will feel that, okay, as long as I have connection or I am close to the power, I can commit any offense, and if I run out of luck, they even arrested me or they jail me, I will still be given presidential pardon.
Civil rights leaders are, however, urging caution where cases for consideration should show the delicate balance between mercy, accountability, and public confidence on the rule of law. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
All right, so in the days after the announcement of these presidential pardons, Nigerians have had a lot to say. On Monday, in a statement, the family of the late Bilyaminu Bello condemned the presidential pardon granted his wife, Miriam Sanda, who was convicted and sentenced to death for his 2017 murder in 2020. The presidency says her pardon follows her expression of remorse, good conduct in prison, pleas from her family, consideration for her 2 young children, and recommendations from the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy. However, the family of her slain husband says the pardon undermines justice and sends the wrong message. Here's part of what the statement said, and I quote, "The alleged grounds for Miriam Sanda's release were predicated on appeals from her family, amongst other considerations. It is pertinent to stress that Bilyaminu was also our cherished family member who was profoundly loved and deeply mourned by his teeming relations, friends, and close associates following the unfortunate incident that resulted in his gruesome murder 8 years ago. Mariam, let's not forget, had earlier denied the same children now used to elicit sympathy and secure her release the opportunity to know what a father's love and care mean. We interpret this decision as primarily driven by the sole motivation for appeasing Mariam's family members by way of extending mercy to a certified convicted murderer. At the same time, it conveniently ignored the corresponding inexorable pain that has now been inflicted on the victim's grieving family, friends, and associates. We are compelled to issue this formal statement to humanize Bilyaminu, who is now suddenly being made to appear as if he's just another faceless, anonymous individual in the long line of victims of crimes in the country." End of quote.
Another story that has come up from the presidential pardon involves Kelvin Oniara, The 44-year-old was feared as a leader of a kidnapping and robbery gang that was implicated in the killing of many police and military officers, as well as some other victims. Also known as Kelvin Ibruwe, he masterminded the kidnap of prominent lawyer Mike Ozekome SAN on the 24th of August 2013 along Auchi Bini Road. He is also responsible for one kidnapping of a judge of Edo State Judiciary, kidnapping a top female official of the FIRS, the death of Dr. Chudi Nweke, a former deputy governor of Anambra State, killed while in captivity. There's also kidnapping of several members of the NYSC and security agents. He also masterminded various attacks against security personnel, carried out several armed robberies and kidnap operations in Delta, Edo, Rivers, and Anambra states. On the 18th of September 2013, he issued a 60-day ultimatum to the federal government to release some of his boys who were arrested by the DSS, or he would wreak havoc on innocent Nigerian citizens. He was arrested on the 25th of September 2013. He has served 12 years of a 20-year sentence, while his pardon had caused controversy. Not everyone is unhappy. He is a free man. Residents of Kokori community in Delta State celebrated his release. You need to watch the video.
Okay, Lola, I need you to ask me that question you asked again.
You know, I just asked Oluwa, I said, please, everything this guy did, is that what I read?
That's what I read, and that's not everything. I just took what were the main...
Just some of the things, and that's everything he did.
Yes.
And in a 20-year sentence, he has served 12
years.
So he has 8 years more, and he was given pardon.
Yes.
For all these things.
Yes.
You know, sometimes I'm wondering what's the criteria.
There's no criteria.
No, go to it. So I knew this was going to come up. I knew this was going to come up. So part of the pointers of this conversation, there's on the presidential Villa State House website, it talks about why these pardons happened. And it said that according to a statement from the State House, President Tinubu granted clemency to most of them based on the reports that the convicts had shown remorse and good conduct. He forgave some due to old age, the acquisition of new vocational skills, or even enrollment in the National Open University of Nigeria. President Tinubu also corrected the historic injustice committed by British colonialists against Sir Herbert Macaulay, one of Nigeria's foremost nationalists. I'm not done, hold on. In all, the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Prerogative of Mercy, chaired by the Attorney General and Justice Minister Prince Lateef Fagbemi, recommended pardon for 2 inmates, 15 former convicts, 11 of whom had died. The committee recommended clemency for 82 inmates and commutation of sentences for 65. 7 inmates on death row also benefited from the presidential reprieve. The committee recommended that the president should commute their death sentences to life imprisonment, and that was signed by Bayo Onanuga. So the prerogative of mercy is said to be on humanitarian grounds. I'm done now.
You know, when you say humanitarian grounds, you know, I haven't seen, maybe I've been privileged to read about some of the reasons why some prisoners are given pardons. Yeah. Some of them have served as almost half their life sentence in prison. Somebody who has like a life sentence and has served like maybe 40 years out of it, that you can really say that, oh, his conduct has changed. Not somebody that has served in a 20-year sentence, like maybe 12.
So we're even talking about 12. We're even talking about Kelvin. We're coming to Miriam Sanda. She just was sentenced in 2020. Yeah. So she's barely been, well, no, she was also in jail for about 2017, off and on until the final sentence in 2020. But the biggest thing for me is, what does this say about our justice system? How are victims supposed to feel?
Somebody that
Where is the consideration for the victims? Where is the consideration for justice to be seen to be done and to be done in this country?
Okay. To see for me,
don't forget that Farouk Lawan is also on this list of presidential pardons.
I think it's just something. There's no clear way of. There's a picture behind all of this. There's nothing anybody will tell me, and it's at a time where, I don't know. For me, it's ill time because election year is around the corner. There's nowhere people are looking at this and not tying it to. Is this a precursor to what more we're going to see because election year is upon us? And you are pardoning people with such heavy rap sheets.
Yes. Drug traffickers. Illegal mining. That illegal mining is economic sabotage. Drug trafficking. Do you know how many people are killed?
Meanwhile, there are people who are awaiting trials. Why didn't you attend? If you wanted to do something nice or for humanity, or you say you wanted for peace or to heal, we didn't ask for healing. Nobody asked for this. Just came out of the woodworks, just like that, and onto Nigerians, it was foisted on. There are people in prisons all over the world, all over Nigeria, I beg your pardon, who have not seen the light of day. Like, what's the boy's name? Hakim?
The generator.
Yes.
That's been how many years in jail?
Exactly, for nothing. He just was, and the case was just closed and abandoned. We have so many cases like that. Mr. President, if the presidency wants to do something, that's where you should go to weed out, because the prisons are overflowing with people.
Exonerate the president.
No, you cannot in this case.
Recommended.
Have you seen this man?
Recommendation
It was a recommendation. Somebody died.
How many of you can he really vet?
Why are we doing this? So this line of this line of thinking, I've heard it across the country for the past few days. And yes, I understand a list is going to be recommended, but I also believe a president should have a team. Yes, he may not read all 175, but what is 175 to read? If you're a president who does our economic planning, what is 175 to read? What is it to read? So that you are exactly sure of what you're signing off on. I cannot exonerate the president.
No,
I can't. Let's not forget that, this was actually vetted by and reviewed by the advisory committee. That's why he has advisors. And
he has final approval.
Yeah, he has final approval, but he would actually go with more.
Okay, so what are the arguments? Let's say I'm tapping into your line of thinking. What would the arguments be? Let's say it's an advisory committee in SPA. What are the arguments to somebody like this guy that read? What is the argument?
Okay, so according to them, right, it's based on remorse, time served, or even illness.
Okay, remorse.
So the president using
anybody can act like they're remorseful,
right, is not illegal.
I agree to
wait, hold on, but don't also forget that, of course, some of these people are connected to him because, a lot of... This is not the first president.
So you're saying that
this is not the first president to actually give the presidential pardon.
Controversial one.
Even the controversial one. He did. And we know that, the move was condemned, He also gave former military officials convicted of coup plotting in the 1990s pardon. Yes, exactly. People were highly disappointed. And let's not forget Buhari did the same thing, and I remember back then it was really, really controversial.
What it's showing us is that our political leaders are using what is called the prerogative of mercy for either personal or possibly political strings and manipulations.
Then it takes away, it makes nonsense of this pardon, this presidential pardon, that they are pardoning. Somebody will bring from the advisory committee, will bring his brother, somebody representing his community. Look at the Kokori community now, for example, are saying that,
oh my God, I'm thinking of the wives and the children of the police officers, of the military officers who were killed, who are sitting in this Nigeria now, watching the man who masterminded, who was at the top of the criminal gang that led to the death of their loved ones, coming home a free man.
A hero's
welcome as well.
It doesn't. So how about if every prison in Nigeria, there are inmates, there are people that work there making real recommendations of people who have been in prison for a long time, who have become exemplary. I agree that people can change in the prison, but how do we justify some of these things? Like now, do you know how afraid the victims would be?
Or people
that maybe this person can come back and retaliate and so you are the family, and they come back and they do even something. At least I've heard of someone in America. He was released or something.
There's so many of them.
And he went just this, like 2 days after, to kill the wife of the person
do you understand?
Who testified or something.
You will see that people are, okay, you're pardoning them, but the truth is, how are you preparing
the federal government?
So do you get?
That was really
and you are pardoning him, and you are
the federal
so
government.
he comes back. What are the reparations? Have you had him ever justice? Do you understand?
So there's one thing I do like. I'm so sorry because we have to move on. There's one thing I do like about the U.S. justice system. When they're sentencing somebody, especially for a violent crime, if the person is dead, the family members of that dead person get to speak. If the person is alive, they get, it's called a witness or victim survivor impact statement. And they get to tell that person what the choice that they made and the impact it had on their lives. And I think we might need to start considering that when we're doing this prerogative of mercy, especially when we want to let drug traffickers, kidnappers, people who have killed police, who have killed students, who have kidnapped people, we need to let their victims speak to the Presidential Advisory Committee on prerogative of mercy and this is, before you make a decision.
This is the reason why so many people actually feel this is rushed and ill-timed as well.
We have to take a quick break now because we have a very important guest standing by. This story continues to have different dimensions as people learn more and more about those who have made the list. When we come back, we're speaking to the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities because Nigerian universities have gone silent once again. Let's talk about the 2-week warning strike after this.
Now, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Nigeria's universities have once again fallen silent, and not because of holidays or students' unrest, but because of yet another strike. Now, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, also known as ASUU, have downed tools after months of failed negotiations with the federal government. The union says that it is a last resort, a protest against broken promises, withheld salaries, underfunded institutions, and what it calls a deliberate attempt to weaken public universities through neglect. But this time, it seems the government is not backing down. Now, officials have described the strike as illegal and disruptive, moving swiftly to clamp down on union activities and enforce no work, no pay policies. Meanwhile, students are left stranded once again. Their academic calendars are in shambles, parents are frustrated, and Nigeria's dream of building a knowledge economy feels increasingly out of reach. Now, joining us now is Professor Chris Piwuna, president of ASUU. Thank you so much, Professor Piwuna. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here and be given an opportunity.
Thank you. Now, Professor Piwuna, let's talk about what the last straw has been, because we know that ASUU and the federal government have been dialoguing, quote unquote, sitting at the table for, I guess we'll just say eons. It comes up almost, it's like it's a rinse and repeat cycle. But in this particular situation, with you as president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was the final straw in this particular time round this tango?
Well, thank you very much once again. Honestly, I think our back has been broken for a long time. We just couldn't walk anymore. It's been broken. The straw, has always been at our backs, and we just got to a point that we couldn't even crawl anymore. And we decided that it was time to take an action. I want to spare Nigerians the history of 2009 agreement, which started in 2007 with President Yar'Adua. So let's just take the last 2.5 years when this government came into office. Before this government came to office, we had engaged His Excellency President Tinubu. He could help us with in result. And so when he came into office, we thought it was a perfect opportunity with someone who knew what our problems were before coming into office to solve the problems. So we gave this government over 2.5 years to try to address the issues that some of them were familiar with before they even got into office. It dragged on for so long. The last minister, we had meetings with him over these issues For the benefit of those who do not know, the issues are about our 2009 renegotiated draft agreement, which we started in 2017 to date. The issue of academic freedom and autonomy forms part of that agreement. The best ways to fund education, university education, was part of that agreement. Our conditions of service is also part of that agreement. And then there are issues about governance in universities, how councils can be appointed, how council members could be removed, maternity leave, paternity leave, sabbatical leave. Those are the other issues about governance that is in that agreement. When this government came to power, they awarded salaries across board, 35% increase on our salaries. This government has not paid us that award for 12 months. It has not reflected in our salaries. We are asking them to try to address that. We are also reminding them that in 2022, when we went on strike, when we came back and did the work, we were still being owed 3.5 months' salaries. We are also reminding this government, as part of our demands, that when they moved us into IPPIS, our check-off dues have not been remitted for years. They are still owing us for years. They are still owing our pensioners some money. As a result of the IPPIS, there were people that are still being owed salaries while we're there that have not been paid. We also have brought before government the fact that our promotion arrears for the past 4 years before this strike, for some of our members, it's still outstanding. We want them to look at it and try to address these issues.
Dr. Piwuna.
The government on its part have decided to talk about only the things they have done. They don't want to talk about the things that are outstanding. So they tell the Nigerian public that they've given us 50 billion naira for EA, that they have approved 50 billion naira for revitalization of public universities.
But Dr. Piwuna,
we should applaud them.
I can hear all the demands that are laid before the government, and we know that, unfortunately, these demands have resurfaced year in, year out. It's been repeated. There's hardly any of these demands that any of us would not say we are not aware of over the years. But what really I do not understand or know how to address, why has dialogue between ASUU and the government become a cycle of distrust and confrontation? Because we are here every time. And the next thing we're going to hear is that the government and ASUU are in a closed-door meeting and the call-off of the strike. So why do we have to get into this circle? It's like a dance that we already know the story. It's like watching an opera. We know the end from the beginning thereof. Can you elaborate more on that, sir?
I think the first point you made is key. Lack of sincerity. Once you approach dialogue without sincerity, you're not honest, you're not truthful, you have an ulterior plan, you're not likely going to get anywhere. And unfortunately, that is what we have been facing. Government can accuse us of insincerity too, of not being truthful, of not being honest, but we want them to point at A, B, C, that this is our insincerity, this is our untruthfulness, this is why they think we're not honest. Let them say it, because we have examples of their lack of sincerity. I'll give you one. We gave this government an ultimatum, not in writing. Well, in writing, yes, we wrote to them to say we're about to embark on an action in July. They said, give us 2 weeks. We'll solve these problems. 2 weeks came. We're coming. were going for a NEC meeting in Sokoto to see him. We wrote to him and we went to see him. And when we went to see the minister, he said he was going to address the issue and that we should give them another 3 weeks. We gave them another 3 weeks. The 3 weeks came and elapsed. No word, no response, no letter, nothing to say, gentlemen, 3 weeks that we gave you is around the corner. Because of ABCD, we are unable to meet with you before the end of these 3 weeks. Nothing at all from government. We met again and wrote to them to say, because of these serial failures or lack of response or responses from you, we are giving you 2 weeks ultimatum. At the expiration of the 2 weeks ultimatum, we are going to embark on a 2-week warning strike. Do you know that this government never responded to us?
All right, Professor, please hold that. Please hold that.
Hold on, let me just explain this.
Okay.
Let me just explain this. 1 week into the ultimatum, we called the minister and said, Honorable Minister, 1 week has gone into the ultimatum. Can you give us your response to our demands so that we can use the next week, which was last week, to try to engage you and see how we can resolve this matter? They never did that. They waited until the last day of the ultimatum, which was Friday last week, and called for a meeting that no official of the Federal Ministry of Education attended. No official of the Federal Ministry of Labor attended. A meeting that no official of the Ministry of Justice attended. Nobody from the Accountant General's office. Only salaries and wages and budget office were in attendance.
All right, Professor.
They gave us a document that...
I get it. The frustration. Listen, I get. We sitting on the table, we understand it completely. The frustration is palpable, and we, at some level of our educational journey, have experienced ASUU strikes. While some critics say repeated strikes harm students, they erode public confidence in universities, how would you respond to that critique, and then how do you weigh the costs against the demands that you're pressing for? Is strike, and I've always asked it on this table, is strike the only tool that ASUU has to bring government to the table? They say you can't change or you don't change the formula if it's not broken, but in your own opinion, what do you think?
Well, thank you very much for that question. And like you've brought it up on your table all the time, and people have asked us those questions. We've asked ourselves that question as well. Is strike the only thing available? Certainly not. Before we get to the point of declaring a strike, I just described to you how we met. We were given 2 weeks. Nothing happened. We wrote again. Give us 3 weeks. Nothing happened. We wrote again. We gave ultimatum. We reminded them after 1 week. Just within 2 months or 3, all these things happened. Honestly, this is what we do with them year in, year out, before we get to the point of a strike action.
Yeah.
And so, if there is anything else, I've always said this, if there is anything else, we are intellectuals. Intellectuals should be open to new ideas, new ways of doing things, new thinking. Intellectuals should be humble enough to say there could be some other side to this matter that I don't know, and be open to listen to it. We are open. Okay. We are open. If there is anything that you think we need to do, what we have not done in ASUU is to declare a Ramadan period or a period of length to pray and fast for the government. That one we have not done. But if there is anything else that they want us to do, let them let us do.
A religious country. Yeah. Maybe that is an option you might have to take. Prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting.
Professor Piwuna, let's talk about the no work, no pay directive, that was issued on Monday by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. Now, the government argues that enforcing this no work, no pay rule is within its legal rights. But where do you draw the line between the union's right to industrial action and the government's mandate to keep institutions functioning?
Well, thank you very much. I have tried to respond to the minister on this matter, and the understanding or the feedback I get is like we are engaged in a tit for tat with the ministry or the minister. And so I don't want to go there again. We have said respectfully that please, Honorable Minister, don't threaten us. With all due respect, don't threaten us. Don't threaten us with any no work, no pay. It's not going to work. Find something else to do. But our response again to this issue of no work, no pay is directed at vice chancellors of Nigerian universities that have been asked to enforce this no work, no pay as a punitive measure against our members. This strike, this warning strike that we have embarked on, one of the key demands to government is the release of revitalization fund to universities. When that money is released, it is vice chancellors that will use that money to develop our universities, to make the universities more habitable, more learning friendly, to create an environment that students and staff can enjoy learning and teaching. If any vice chancellor that knows that he or she cannot go to government and get this money is going to punish us for embarking on a strike to bring money to the university, then I think that that vice chancellor needs deliverance.
Professor Piwuna, because of time, we really need to ask, and it's a question we ask whenever a strike happens. So you reached out to the government. The government did not, almost seems like they didn't even acknowledge your notice of a strike. Since June or July, as you mentioned, they were not attempting to engage with you, only to come out on Friday and to tell the Nigerian populace that they have been engaging and they're trying and that they do not want you to go on strike, and also saying that it is selfish of you to basically go on strike. In the event that the strike goes beyond 2 weeks, beyond this 2-week warning period, if it goes beyond this, how prepared is ASUU for a prolonged standoff with the federal government? And I ask that, and I'll buttress with also this. When we see these strikes happen, government offers you a seat at the table, you have a conversation, they make promises, and it's these same promises that have been made for over a decade now that ASUU is still trying to get implemented. Do you trust that if you're called to the table by the Bola Tinubu administration and promises are once again made, do you trust that the administration will hold to its promises? And are you prepared to go beyond the 2-week warning strike? Or how prepared are you to go beyond the 2-week warning strike? Because of time, 1.5 minutes, sir.
You know, I'm a psychiatrist. And in psychiatry, there is a concept of state of learned helplessness.
Yes.
When you get to a point where no pain inflicted on you, no circumstances around you will bring you down anymore. All these threats push us to that point. And the time we get into that point is when we embark on a full and indefinite strike. When we are at that level, we actually wait for the heavens to fall. We don't hear anything anymore. That is the psychology of strike, at least for us in ASUU. So if government is sensible, they will try to avert that stage
from happening.
But I have good news for you.
Okay.
The good news is that this morning we have received an invitation by Alhaji Bola Ahmed, the chairman of the federal government renegotiating team, to meet with us on Thursday this week. And so, by the special grace of God, we're going to converge in Abuja to discuss with them. And we hope that this time around, the table that we will sit on would enable us tell Nigerians something positive.
Honestly, Professor, we're looking forward to the outcome of that Thursday meeting. We're anxiously hoping that we'll come to, some kind of compromise that will move the association forward, and of course, thinking of our students that are at home. We want to say thank you to you, Professor Piwuna, for spending time with us today to give us, your take on what is happening generally. We will continue to watch how the situation develops, and we look forward to speaking to you again, probably after the meeting on Thursday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At the heart of every nation's progress lies its classrooms, the ideas born there, the minds shaped there, and the dreams that take flight because someone believed in education, that education was worth fighting for. Yet Nigeria's universities remain caught in the painful cycle of strikes, broken promises and frustrations. And while government and unions trade blame, an entire generation is left waiting for a country that truly prioritizes knowledge over politics. And let's not forget the conversation about presidential pardons. Justice must be seen to be done and maintained. But where is the place for mercy? And dare I ask, or we ask, who deserves mercy in today's Nigeria? Today's conversations leave us with a lot to chew on, so please be like rams and cows and chew on it. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Hopefully, we don't have bigger things to chew on.
Oh my Lord.
We'll see you again tomorrow.